nurtured the company like anything. And you know that nurture is so important. It is not that the company's goal was to just make an investment and leave it.
Yeah.
We nurture.
I think you hit a very important point, and I think one of the panel discussion theme is about market access. So to me, I've seen that companies sitting with decent amount of capital, they just couldn't crack market. So if some of us think that if I have a capital and this is going to give me a capital and I may crack everything in the world and to make my startup a unicorn, I think we are in a different world. I think we need to think about that. Standing between you and the lunch, and we'll try to keep it brief. I think startup as a topic is very familiar, but I think today, if you look at just startup has no much significance, and we know that it's not about capital raising. I think there's much beyond capital raising, which is basically market access, and I want to congratulate Sahil, Punjab Angels Network, to be able to put together such a wonderful show today to discuss the nuances of scaling up businesses. And I think if you understand the funding aspect better, of course we will also be able to scale better. But having just funding is not actually transformative to create value-based startups. And I think gone are those days where people are chasing valuation. I think it's important to chase value. So with that note, we're going to be crisp. And what I'm going to do is, since the introduction of all the panelists has already happened, but I would certainly like to do a little bit of introduction for myself. So my name is Dr. Vishal. I represent an organization called BIORx Venture Advisors. I also run a healthcare angel network, considering I come from a healthcare background. And Mr. Ramanathan, would you like to just briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I have more than 30 years of experience in the venture capital and private equity space. I have worked in companies like Westbridge Capital India, Sequoia Capital India, and ICICI Venture. I'm here to help the startup companies to get funding from these venture capital and private equity firms. I'll do my best.
Thank you, Mr. Ramanathan. May I turn to...
Hi, I'm Nitesh Aggarwal. I'm leading the single family office fund for the Balduta family. It's a 130 mil corpus. We have deployed $25 million. We invest in startups and funds. So we have invested in Bloom, Chirati, Solaris Pi, Trifecta, Epic, Bearings, True North, Ideas, Sprout, if you guys are aware of it. We have invested in some funds in Israel, we have invested in some funds in the US. So it's a non-strategic passive pool of capital where we take super minority shareholding in companies. Don't try to involve ourselves too much in the founder, allow him to kind of do the jobs and take a passive seat in terms of riding along this startup growth which the founders are creating in India.
Thank you, Nitesh. Turn to Rajesh.
Hi everyone, I am Rajesh Singla. I am founder of Planify. At Planify, we have basically a platform which connects entrepreneurs with the investors. We help investors invest in startups which could be from pre-seed, seed, pre-series A, series A funding. We basically help startup raise anywhere between 1 crore to 50 crores. We have a help startup raise, last year we have helped 6 startup raise more than 100 crores. Their overall total valuation is right now over 1600 crore rupees. We also help investors invest in pre-IPOs and unicorns. So in India there are about 108 unicorns right now, and there are more than 500 companies which are soon going to be unicorns. So that is called as unicorns. And there are about 300 companies which have filed their DRHP and will be going public in the IPO in the next 1 year. So we have exclusive 250 plus opportunities for the investors to invest in, and on the other side we help founders and entrepreneurs raise funds through our platform. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think
if you allow me, I would like to thank Sahil for giving us this great opportunity, and also for everybody in the room, Happy New Year, Vaishakhi. I also celebrate my New Year today, so thanks a lot.
I think the whole India is celebrating New Year in their own way today. Thank you. So we'll jump on to the discussion as to, we all know the startup ecosystem has been very vibrant, but is it impactful? So what I'd like to do is to actually ask Mr. Ramanathan to define what is the impact that startup ecosystem has created so far. Are we getting there? Are we really, making an impact? And are there any learnings from what has happened in the last 10 years? and can we continue to go that way, or do you think there are better ways to create better impact in the organization, in the startup ecosystem? So your brief thoughts.
Absolutely. I can say that when I was working in ICC Venture somewhere in 1991, the buzzword of venture capital was very, very less. Many people doesn't know what is venture capital. And it was more of an introductory thing for many of us at that time, and we never understood. In fact, I can say that the Infosys founder, Mr. Narayana Murthy, was next to me speaking to my president. He told, sir, I'm going to give you rights issue of Infosys for 10 rupees at face value. Please take it. But we don't know about what is Infosys at that time. Today I'm wondering, had I taken that, even 1,000 rupees, if I had spent that at that time, it would have been many crores today. So that's the impact of startups, and which we didn't realize at that time. But I'm very happy that over the last 10 years, the buzzword startup has created a very good ecosystem, and it has provided many opportunities for many of the corporates to evolve as a unicorn, and that is what we are seeing now.
Yeah, I think unicorn to me is just a symbol, but a lot of unicorns actually have not even created any impact so far. Unicorn is just, I don't think unicorn is a way to say that it is a value creative organization. I think it's just a symbol which has been created by all the financial intermediaries, and I think we are all part of that. Nitesh, over to you. You think that there are certain improvements required in the ecosystem, to make it more impactful? What are those one or two points that you want to share?
Sure. So one impact, and I mean, while sitting here, during the course of the morning, we made a lot of comparison of, let's say, Punjab versus Bangalore. I'm going to start comparing, India versus US, right? A lot of times, right? So we are investing both in US and in India. The quality of startups which you see are fundamentally very different, right? So in the US, it's fine, if let's say there's a deep tech startup, let's say you're kind of doing something in biotech or something in space tech. We are doing something which it takes like half an hour of YouTube reading to just understand what the startup is doing. Right, and I can bore you with things which they are doing. In India, we're still solving for kind of basic infrastructure issues like, okay, you want to find a driver, you can go to an app and you can find a driver, right? So what the quality of deep tech startups, and I mean deep tech is not just bad, but quality of deep tech startups are extremely different. So there I think we have a long way to go. One reason why I think we are not there is because nobody is funding research. There are very less kind of avenues for researchers to essentially get grants in the college. The quality of equipment and the labs which are available in India are extremely poor as compared to what is available in the US, right? So that once we started kind of developing, I think we'll be able to
since I come from healthcare sector, I can tell you there's enough funding available in the government sector today. But that funding hasn't really translated into developing useful products. Even if the useful products are made, they have not reached the market. So I think it's not just about access to the funding. It's about, I think getting things done in the right way from the beginning, because when they fund, they don't actually look at the market. What they look at only the science. And unless you don't fuse the science with the research, and management, it's very difficult to actually sell a product. Developing a product is one part, but actually making sure that actually it sells and then you scale up business in a very unit economic efficient model is another science and a management, required. And now coming to a point of Bharat economy, sorry, go ahead.
I have a completely different opinion.
Yeah.
So, I think we are looking from the lens of when a startup is coming on, right?
Yes.
My point was more around the lab. When I did my engineering, when I'm going to a lab, we are getting some reading, right? I'm going to the professor and saying, okay, this is reading is 11. Professor saying 14, लिख दो ना फिर क्या? Right? Because the equipment is 40, he knows it, I know, right? And then our experience of what test was, a litmus test where a paper is dipped in liquid and the glue becomes red and so on.
Absolutely.
The quality of labs which are available in the US at the very fundamental school level is very different, right?
Yeah, but it is changing. I can tell you that you have Atal Innovation Mission, you have Atal Tinkering Labs, which in your time and my time, perhaps were not there, and we were just taken to the computer classroom and shown that, okay, this is a computer and that's about it, right? We were not allowed to be touched. It was like a specimen. So coming to Rajesh, there's a lot of Bharat economy, people are talking about business models which are in tier 3, tier 4, and they are now coming to be, fundable model, because nobody's going to solve problem, right? Other than the people who are living in that tier 3, tier 4. And since I come from the healthcare field, we've seen that 80% of the people live in rural, right? So who's going to invent and who's going to work on this model? Do you think, in your experience, those models are fundable? Because you come in as a first people to actually put an angel money. What's your experience about the Bharat economy, the models around tier 3, tier 4? Because they'll be specific to that, right? So what's your experience?
So it's a very good question. Overall, what we have seen in India right now, there are 96,000 startups which has been registered with the Indian startup ecosystem, and right now only 4,200 startups have only got funding. So the other more than 95% of the startups have never raised funds, and most of it is actually present in tier 3 and tier 4s, as you have rightly pointed out. So there is a lot of gaps. Even right now, we are not even talking about tier 3, tier 4. The discussions which were going on here earlier, that the funding between fundraising happening at Chandigarh versus happening at Delhi NCR versus the other metros is quite different. So this is a tier.
And I think this comparison doesn't really help. I think we need to just see that where we are today and how can we get better. Yeah, chasing Bangalore is not a solution, because they have their own set of problems, and while they are chasing growth, whatever. But I think the problems that particularly Chandigarh or Punjab or Haryana ecosystem has, I think if we can address those problems, we can still create an impact, right?
Right, absolutely. So from a government point of view, what I feel from especially state governments can take more initiatives. From center, we are seeing a lot of push with Atal Yojana and other incubators and accelerators. There are funds which are now part from the central government. But when it comes to state governments, they can take up more roles, it has been taken up by UP, Uttar Pradesh. I believe those kind of roles can be taken even by the other states. That's very good models. Even Odisha, I feel, is doing brilliant. Apart from the South India, if we do a bit of comparison.
Sure. Mr. Ramanthan, one of the objectives of technology business incubators was to actually ensure that these ideas are spurred and they're taken to the next level, and then they are investable ideas wherein private money could flow in. So do you think that the kind of promise or objective that government had as a Startup India initiative, actually people are able to take advantage of that? Do you think that the money which has flown in from a private capital perspective, the flows are still good, or they can be much better? And what is it that government can do to make those flows better? Because I see that people are not able to access private capital. And why would a private investor put in money, when he doesn't see that idea actually moving into a commercial business viable model? So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so actually, to touch upon the government initiatives, it is more on the debt side. If I am right, they are unable to come on the equity side. Equity side is more allocated to some good reputed firm, institutions like SIDBI, and probably it could be NABARD, whatever it is. Equity side, if you look at it, there is not much of a push from.
So I'd like to just add here, a lot of technology business incubators today are a part of seed fund schemes, and those seed fund schemes are actually investing directly as an equity investor and taking 5% stake. So since I come from IIT Delhi, so I have seen that IIT typically has an incubation ecosystem. So whenever they put in any money, they charge 5% equity for that, and it's all equity investment, no debt, nothing. So debt is a very recent phenomenon, but it's an equity which has actually been going on in the incubation ecosystem for about 5 to 7 years already.
I do understand. I agree with you that there are certain schemes which has come up, but it should go a long way. It should be pan-India, and it should reach out to so many people, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, to take advantage of these schemes. That is very important.
It is happening because I think earlier government was only focusing on establishing these technology business incubators in tier 1. Now I think there is a saturation in tier 1. So, and there are new models which are really required to solve the problem of tier 3, tier 4, and I think government is now saying that let's go inward. So I met one of the CEOs of incubator, who I met him in Chennai, and he's trying to go to some other places in Adyar and all that to find that what those innovations are. So I think this is very encouraging. But overall, I feel that the way government looks at it, the way private investor looks at it, I think that the gap which government thought by giving the grant funding, giving equity funding, will solve the problem. But in my opinion, it really hasn't, because government hasn't really involved the right people in the beginning. So if you have right people in the beginning to validate the business idea, I think the chances of ROI for government and for other stakeholders will actually improve a lot. So these are my observations. I am sure both of you do have, you do receive lots of proposals where the proposals are coming directly from IIT Bombay to IIT Madras to so many IITs, and people look at IIT proposal very favorably. But again, I can tell you that, sometimes these are virtual incubations and not real incubations, So what are your thoughts, Nitesh, on that?
So, I'll just take in some form through some statistics, right? So, total wealth of India is around $4 trillion, right? So, the total market cap of India is around $4 trillion, right? So, which is around 28%. In the US, this number is around 32%, right? So, the amount of capital invested in the listed equities is around 32 compares to 28 in India. As far as startup investing is concerned, in the US, around 21% of net worth is essentially invested into startup investing, which 8% comes from funds, 30% comes directly. In India, that is as low as 3.5%, right? And the number is basis total of $145 trillion is essentially been invested in India. A lot of it will actually be kind of foreign capital, right? So the value of that is around $500 billion, right? So 500 billion on $14 trillion is around 3.5%, right? That is a long way to go. Which is changing, right? A lot of kind of family office money is essentially coming in here, right? The other aspect is essentially what you spoke about is essentially government funding, right? Singapore is statistic. Oman has Oman investment authority. Canada has kind of multiple of them. Insurance companies essentially invest into kind of startups. LIC's exposure to startups will be minimal. We can't name a single Temasek equivalent in India, right? We could name maybe NIF, maybe SIDBI. These are the kind of few names which kind of pop into our minds. But they are all fund of funds, right? They've not taken direct exposure. They don't have the reputation of.
They've started taking direct exposure, but again, when you go to them, they say, "Oh, we have this scheme called Ubarte Sitare." Now, Ubarte Sitare should do business for indigenization, but then they want to incentivize people who are doing exports. So these are like some of the dichotomies that you have to deal with it. So, Rajesh, I have a very specific question for you. A lot of these companies which come to you, they would be coming on full-on travel, right? Because it just doesn't make sense for you to just look at seed and all that. What could be the top 3 reasons that you don't invest in them?
Again, it's a very good question. So, overall, I'll point out 5 rather than 3. I'll point out 5 things which makes a company investable. Top 5 things. First is founder and the team. For us, how relevant the founder is on the business which he wants to build, and the team he has around. What is his core principles? What are the key values and the mission he is driving to do that business? The second would be the product. What kind of product he is basically building? Be it proper like hard product or even from the software side. If they are building some product, what kind of quality of that product, what is the quality of that product, how durable and how scalable that product is. The third would be the business model, how scalable the business is. Overall, this is the business, there needs to be, the business needs to have, there needs to be buyer for those products. So we look at, the fourth thing which we actually look at is the demand supply gap. How much is the demand supply gap and what kind of problem he is basically trying to solve, and what kind of demand supply gap is there, so that he understand, so we understand how much he will be able to drive the overall innovation or overall his startup. The last would be the entry barrier. We also look at how high is the entry barrier for any business. Is it a simple business which can be easily be replicated by other folks? So if that is not there and the business is actually having a competitive edge, then that business actually becomes investable.
Dr. Vishal, if I can interrupt, I would like to add something to whatever Rajesh said. I thought this will be definitely useful to many of the startups. Is the market big enough to build a reasonable revenue and profitable company? This is the first thing a startup has to look at it. And what is the founder market fit? That is also very important. If they don't know about the market strategies, then it becomes very difficult. Early evidence of customer demand, that is also one of the good indication where the founder can find that where he is. The founder's skin in the game is also equally important. Last but not the least is, can the founders sell well to investors, partners, employees, as well as customers? These are some of the additional tips which a startup should have to grow as a very good unicorn as well.
Absolutely. I think those are brilliant points. So what we could do is, in the interest of time, if anybody has any questions, because we can continue go on for another 20 minutes, but I would like it to be more of an interactive session. We can learn from each other. We are just sitting here because we've been given this opportunity to come here and sit here, but we may not be that learned like you. So I interacted with Mr. Jan. Mr. Jan, you would like to share your words of wisdom with all of us? Okay, good. Anyone has any questions for us, or maybe just any observations or clarifications, or please feel free to share. Yeah? Okay, so then we go back.
One.
Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
मेरा मेजर प्रॉस्पेक्ट है कि अभी यहाँ पे मैं यूजुअली टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में सुन रही हूँ, बट मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है हर पैनल एक ह्यूमन टच के बारे में बात कर रहा है. तो बहुत सारी ऐसी विमेन हैं जो एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में आ रही हैं आगे, बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू टेक्नोलॉजी दिस इज अ हाई रन फॉर देम. So they are starting. There are women who already started, but there are women who are about to start. So they are starting with soft skills and services. So what your opinion, or I mean tips for them कि उन्हें किस तरह से मार्केट को लेना चाहिए, स्ट्रक्चर को लेना चाहिए और encourage करना चाहिए to get into the market.
Sir, if I can answer this question. Ma'am, I just would like to tell you, the word startup is not only for the technology. It is for everything surrounding that. So there is no doubt about it. A startup can come. Let me give you one example. Probably, you can find that there is one in somewhere in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu. One person he is doing tea and coffee. Let me tell you what he is doing. You will be really surprised that he is having 5 layers. Same bottle, in the same glass, 5 layers comes. One will be coffee, one will be tea, one will be Horlicks, one will be Boost, and one will be juice. And I don't know how he does. So that means he is also having something to prove. So that means that becomes a startup. And please don't even think that only technology survives. Everything survives. And if you look at it thoroughly, as a startup, yes, it succeeds.
Absolutely, sir. My question was for, what are the sentence or some steps for women for them?
Sure, I can put some dimension. So I can just share with you, for women entrepreneurs, this is the best time. Because 5 years back, 7 years back, women were not recognized that well in entrepreneurship and technology. But today, if you look at the history of all the good fortune companies in India, technology companies, at some point of time in last 5-7 years, they've been headed by actually women. Right? You will think about Microsoft to whatever, just go. So I think that barrier and that reception that the woman is not really can match the men, I think we are now outdated about it, right?
Absolutely.
And then there are listed companies or companies, typically, you know, you would find that there is certainly one woman director, and this is a government mandate. So government is also trying to see that how, women also can participate into building an enterprise. And then, of course, if you look at all the fundable startups, I could be here and there, but most of the fundable startups today, have one of the key management professional or a co-founder as a woman, and some of them actually are the people responsible for developing technology. And do this research, you will figure it out. And I'm sure women are actually not behind. This was scenario before, but not anymore. So don't have these judgments. Just go and prove and be done with it. If you want to share anything, Nitesh, or
Sure, I really want to justify this. I mean, I am not judging. I need some tips from the.
So I'm sure Sahil would have arranged a masterclass for this, and we will be very happy to provide you those tips when he organizes some masterclasses.
Sir, on the latter side, I would like to say that all the women are the finance ministers in their home, but for them, the men could not succeed. They cannot succeed.
Yeah.
I'll just add one perspective here, right? I'll just add to what you were saying in a slightly undiplomatic manner. Right? So I think women should stop even using the gender card anymore, right? I think it just doesn't matter anymore. So firstly, we're talking about capital, right? So if let's say I'm putting my hard earned capital, I'm not going to put it behind a women entrepreneur just because she's a woman entrepreneur if I think it's going to lose money. Nor am I doing it going to do it the other way around, right? I'm saying, okay, he's a male entrepreneur, let me put money. If the women entrepreneur is going to be more successful and will make more money, then that's where that's where capital will flow. Capital is ruthless. It is very meritocratic. It will flow to the best founder, irrespective of gender. So don't expect rollouts. Don't expect the ecosystem is helping out in various ways, but pure capital is not going to help out. And literally, I think we should stop being gender.
I'm sure Rajesh, you want to add something? So how many, okay, let me ask a question. How many women founders, one of the founders as a woman founder that you have actually funded in your portfolio so far?
So one of the startups which we have funded is actually led by a woman entrepreneur. It is on urban, so it's an e-commerce company in the name of Madwalk. And they do fashion clothing, fast fashion clothing for urban ladies.
Very good.
And it has been doing well. So he rightly pointed that there should not be any gender part.
Absolutely. So since I come deeply from healthcare sector, I can tell you every third startup actually is led by the women in healthcare in last 7 years. And because they are the ones who understand some of the problems men cannot understand. And that is why they are the right people to solve that problem, and that is what we look for.
Dr. Vishal, I do help one client which is led by women, and not only that, it is the all-woman company.
Yeah.
They are into e-commerce, and they have been much talked about in the Man Ki Baat by our Prime Minister itself. So that's the woman force which always make a difference.
Absolutely. So if you look at rural economy, I'm very new to rural economy, but I'm getting to see those models now. They are all somewhere directly and indirectly related to the woman, right? Because if woman is there, that is why this economy exists. If there's no woman, economy will not exist on the sky, and it's thriving now. People are talking about rural economy, right? And it's going to be again a very big number. I may not have the market size, but it's actually a very big number. And there are lots of VCs there's a very interesting company called HESA, and which has taken a bet on this model, and I'm sure it's going to be unicorn. It's going to be much more impactful. Just unicorn status just doesn't help. But what kind of impact are you creating? And impact has a very varied definition. But to me, impact is that are you really solving the problem what needs to be solved, right? Which is grassroots problem. In Ahmedabad, there is a lab which actually called Srishti. Now you can't expect people to actually look at very incremental innovation. But that incremental innovation today actually has created far more impact than a drug discovery done by Zydus Cadila for about 10 years, right? So I think we need to also think that what are the low-hanging fruits we could actually address. Yeah. Anybody else wants to ask question? Yeah, please go ahead. Or comments. Yeah. please go ahead. You need a mic? Please take a mic.
So first of all, thanks a lot for this wonderful panel discussion. It has been great listening to all four of you insights. So I have a very, I don't know whether it gets along with today's topic or not, but when it comes to family offices and VCs investing in startups and businesses, so what about the concept of impact investing? Like, according to you, what are your views on this? Is it overhyped, or what is its future? Specifically, impact investing.
I would let Nitesh talk, and I can.
Sure. So again, I'm going to take a slightly undiplomatic kind of view here, right? So impact investing has become the buzzword, right? So, and I mean, to give you some statistics in Europe, funds are classified as dark green, light green, and no green. 10% of them are dark green, 45-50% light green. You just cannot get any access to any capital unless you show ESG metrics, impact metrics, etc. Right? So when you're reporting to your NVC,
to the returns, what kind of returns they are getting. Right now, we will eventually move there. We will eventually move to the green side of the funds, and that will come back. But there is a certain room for that.
Yeah, I think we've been told to wrap up, and thank you very much, and it's my great pleasure to be back in my town. You know, I come from Punjab, Hoshiarpur. Lived there only for about 6-7 years and then moved to Delhi. But somehow I feel very connected to Punjab, and the way Sahil is connected to Punjab, I'm not that connected to Punjab. But I think the kind of work Sahil is trying to do in creating a vibrant, ecosystem is applaudable. And I would like every one of you to at least applaud for all the efforts. Because of him we are here, and let's all applaud his efforts. And this is my first Punjab Angel Network Summit. I don't know what happened last year, but I'm certainly going to be looking forward to it in the next one, because I think this is where the impact is. And thank you, Sahil and the team, for putting this together for us. And thank you, wonderful panelists. I think without you being here, travel from Delhi to Mumbai, Bangalore, to then, of course, we have another gentleman from Bangalore. So truly, it's a national conclave. And again, thanks, Sahil, for putting this together and inviting us to the platform. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. It was an amazing panel discussion.